So this is going to be a fun video talking about what ground war might look like in Star Trek based on the technology available. Shields, transporters, disruptors, and everything. And it's going to be heavily focused on transporters. I think transporters would be key to every ground battle in Star Trek. So let's head on over to some very, very simple graphics and maps and lines on maps. So, what would a ground war in Star Trek look like? Well, they have a whole bunch of options to rely upon when engaging each other. Uh, First of all, is orbital bombardment. You could easily target certain units from orbit, support units that would deny the enemy chance to move up further units. You might use them to engage priority targets on the front line as well, using orbit. If you have shuttlecraft or smaller spacecraft, you can establish air superiority and again utilize that to engage targets in the rear or priority targets on the front line. Then, of course, you would more than likely have the Star Trek version of drones, again taking out priority targets on the front line. On top of that, you can utilize transporters as artillery by transporting in bombs onto known enemy locations, again taking out support units or priority targets on the front line, utilizing transported bombs as artillery. And on top of that, you could also utilize transporters as a weapon, locking onto enemy formations and transporting them out of the battlefield high up into the air and just rematerializing them midair, so they're falling down or even out into space or out of combat and taking them as prisoners. So utilizing transporters, you can actually remove troops from the battlefield. And you can also utilize your transporters to move your own troops around to transport in reinforcements or transporting units from the rear to a favorable position to outflank an enemy, doing a quick ambush to take out enemy formations and then transport your troops out again before the enemy can retaliate. So you can utilize transporters to do hit and run attacks by outflanking the enemy without need to move around, essentially. And that would of course allow you to do lots of quick, rapid hit and run attacks. What else? Well, if you have phasers or disruptors, you can turn them up to maximum, meaning that every soldier is essentially carrying a high explosive round weapon that can. So with your weapons, you can ensure that each hit becomes a guaranteed kill. So if you do utilize your transporters to quickly outmaneuver an enemy, you can in short order overwhelm a exposed unit utilizing these extremely powerful weapons. So this is more than likely what you would see in the Star Trek franchise if we were to explore a ground war, say with the Dominion or the Romulans or whatever. The Klingons have an ace up their sleeve, or all races should have an ace up their sleeve, and that is, which is established in Deep Space Nine, Tetrion radiation that renders phasers and disruptors useless. It's a thing in season 2 of Deep Space Nine. Dax figures out that you can spray Tetrion radiation from Klingon disruptors to make enemy disruptors useless. So if you utilize this technology, you can take out enemy guns in just a few short minutes, and then you can move in and either take them prisoner, or if you're a Klingon, engage them in hand-to-hand combat, or if you're a Romulan, disable their weapons and do what you want with them, right? So there are a whole bunch of different things you can use in the Star Trek universe when you're engaging troops on the ground. It is a very deadly battlefield, this Star Trek battlefield. And if you are talking about the Jem'Hadar, they can obviously cloak as well and move up and outflank the enemy and taking them out. Even if you can't transport troops around and stuff like that, they can utilize their stealth to to outflank enemies. And if we're talking Borg, they of course have personal shields that will help them greatly in combat and what have you. So obviously the Star Trek battlefield is extremely deadly and dangerous, and you have a full host of options at your disposal trying to engage and take out the enemy. So in this battle here between blue and red, what red is doing here is they are gonna isolate these guys, or rather make sure that they do not reach the fighting. So you're gonna have shuttles and drones engaging them to slow them down, denying them a chance to move up. And you might even have bombs being transported onto their position to make sure they cannot maneuver. That said, though, what the blue side can do is transport them out of here and moving them up via transporter, so they're still in the fight, annoyingly enough for the red. The red are moving up to engage targets here. It's a big fight, as you can imagine. Red uses their transporters to move these guys over here so that they can outflank the enemy by moving in, doing quick hit and run attacks. And blue does the same, transporting their troops down here instead in order to engage red. And now they can also call in their own transport bombs onto these units, and before they quickly move out before they are targeted in turn. And so this is the back and forth that you have. On top of it all, drones will be used and shuttlecraft will be used to try and engage each other. It is deadly as hell. And these units here, they might be pinned and then they might be transported out of combat and taken prisoner instead. Meanwhile, you might see units from other parts of the battlefield transporting in behind to help out in the combat. You might call in orbital strikes to deal with units close to the front line, right behind the action and stuff like that. It is so much going on in a Star Trek battle on the ground, with all of these various technologies that are available to them: drones, transporters, transport bomb, outmaneuvering the enemy with transporters, doing hit and run attacks, shuttlecraft, and everything, and orbital bombardment. It is mayhem, and it's fast paced, and you really need to be on your toes, because you can have enemies behind you at any moment. Your own troops can be transported out of combat at any moment, either to be taken prisoner or be thrown out into space. It is deadly as hell. It is fast paced, and the battlefield will be changing every second, every minute. This is so fast paced, and you need to use your own transporters to moving in and out before the enemy can call in bombs, call in airstrikes, and call in drones on your location. You're going to transport in, open fire a couple of times, and transport out again. It's going to be mayhem and so fast paced that it's going to be difficult. to keep up, and only the absolute best commanders can maintain control of their forces in this environment. So ideally what you want to do is to pin the enemy in firefights and transport in units to outflank them, pin them in place, and then you can target them with your transporter bombs or whatever and engage them, and just move down the line until either they transport out themselves or you can capture them or destroy them, and just rinse and repeat. Enemy realign, you might harass with orbital bombardment, drones, transport bombs, shuttlecraft, air superiority, and what have you. Denying them a chance to help out with the frontline fighting, but they will, on the other hand, transport out of the way, transport around to not be so you can't target them, and then they're gonna transport up to outflank you and then transport out again, and you will transport in troops of your own troops to try and counter them, transport them out again to avoid enemy transport bombs coming in to try and pin you down and engage you. So it's gonna be this back and forth. I think transporters would be used extensively to move your troops around and to move in explosives and to try and capture people, or to just fling people out into space or high into the air and letting them fall back down to their deaths. And yeah, so transporters would be key to the battlefields of Star Trek. So, which faction do you think would master this type of warfare the most? Who would be able to control such a fast-paced and fluid battlefield, and who would dominate this battle space based on the use of transporters to such an extent that allows you to move troops around rapidly in order to do hit and run ambushes all across the battlefield? Leave a comment, and hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye.